All right,
Say
anytime.
when you're ready.
Yeah, get started. We're good.
Okay. So, hi, everybody. I'm Christina Matheson Segura. I am the Realtor Success Specialist at RCG Mortgage. One of the reasons that my job is actually in existence is because the owner of our company knows that realtors have a struggle, whether you're just getting started or whether you are a seasoned professional. The shift in the market has kind of rocked everybody. We went from no big deal, we have 80 people online at our open houses, to, oh my goodness, everything is changing. What am I going to do? So there's a couple of key components. The first one is you have to, beyond the shadow of a doubt, believe that you can do it. You have to know, you have to take action. Building your business is not anything simple. And some of the things that I teach the people that I work with, hold on, I just want to open this graphic up. Oftentimes people think that they should buy leads. And this is absolutely a misconception. So if you look at this information compiled by the National Association of Realtors, you will see that all of the things that we do of late that we think are going to help us, the conversion rates just aren't there. So we could spend time and money on things that we think are going to get us business, and it's really not going to. The tried and true, if you look at the top couple, are referrals. Once you start getting business, referrals is the biggest opportunity to get more business. So I'm sure that you've learned listings creates buyers. It doesn't mean, you have to have your own. You can certainly go out in the neighborhood, in the community where you're at, past sellers, past buyers. From the time you get your first listing, you'll be building your community of referrals. The simple explanation of how to get a referrals is that you just have to ask. And you ask when there is a moment of gratitude. So your buyers or sellers are saying, oh my goodness, you did such a great job. Thank you so much. I love the house. I'm so happy I got pre-approved. I'm so happy this. That's your opportunity to say, one of the greatest joys in my life is that I can help people get to their dream of home ownership, whether it's that they sold their house and they're going on to another phase of their life, or whether they're buying their first home, a move up home, or something else. You're able to be there at the pivotal points in their life. And you're going to ask them, do you know anybody else that I can educate? Because this is a strange market than most are used to, and I'm happy to help them. Come from a place of help and service. You will always have something amazing to offer and to ask for those referrals. The greatest, in my opinion, source of lead generation is your sphere of influence. We all have this little thing next to us, right? We have this phone. And this phone is not just a phone, but it's a PMD. It's a personal marketing device. We have the ability to call people. We have the ability to text people. Some people prefer texting, but a lot of people still like to get a phone call. It used to be back in the day that, we used to get phone calls all day and night, and that's not the case anymore. So if you want to stand out, that's a great way. Another thing that I recommend is really embedding yourself in your community, whether you volunteer or whether you take your main drag. So you have Main Street USA, wherever that is, you make it a point to go up and down. So first you'll go to restaurants or establishments that you frequent, that people know you've gone there for this or that for a really long time, and make conversation. Your job is to make friends. And once you make friends and build a relationship, you tell them, hey, listen, I'm in real estate. If you know anybody that wants to buy, sell, or invest, I can really help them. And you don't just do it once. You go back every week. How you doing? Remember me? The business card in and of itself is not enough to get you that business. You have to go back and go back and go back. Email marketing and drip email campaigns are fabulous to stay top of mind, but everybody's not reading them. So there's no replacement for the relationship building in the community. Let's go back to volunteering with a nonprofit or a church or anything that you feel a connection to. When you become part of any community, whether it's a geographic community or a community of people, a tribe of people that believe in the same thing, you don't just go once, you become a part of that. People start to get to know who you are, what you do, but you don't have to. The other thing is networking events. You may want to meet other agents, or you may, I happen to love a chamber of commerce. They're business owners. They're usually buying and selling homes. And a chamber of commerce has a cross section of the businesses in a community. Before you ask them for business, ask them who you can connect them to. Be a connector and be a resource for everyone. There is such a thing called the law of reciprocity, meaning if you do something, you give somebody something of value, whether not monetary value, but that you connected them with a customer or something, or you left a great review for them on Google or Facebook or on Yelp. When you do something like that and you gently let them know and do it again and talk them up, they're going to remember who you are. And that's what you want to be, is memorable. So when you're starting out, it's really important to make those connections in various communities and really working on them. This, of course, is all nice, except you have to track it. So I know that you have Command and that it's amazing and it's a robust software system. Yes, you should use it. If it's too much for you to wrap your head around, have some kind of a notebook system, have an Excel spreadsheet, have whatever it is that you can do. So your business should be inhibited by the fact that you're not familiar with the software, or you're not familiar with, computer related things. Yes, you're going to have to get into it in real estate, but don't let that stop you. So just track where you went and what you did. And the final thing that I really want to talk about is planning your day. So for those of us that got into real estate and thought this is going to be great because I don't have a boss and I don't have to be anywhere at a given time and I don't have to commute. The not commuting thing is probably the greatest thing until you start spending your life in your car when you get really busy. You have to plan your day, and every day has to include some kind of prospecting, whether it's up and down the block, whether it's an event, whether it's networking, continuing ed. You got to go out and meet lots and lots of people, track who you met, ask for their contact information, whether you keep it in the notes on your phone or whether you collect business cards or however it is, you have to track how often you speak to them. And you'll see if it's working or not. So you can't measure what you don't monitor. This is a job. It's a career. You'll probably work harder in real estate than in a business where you're not the boss. And since it's 100% commission based, if you don't go out and get the business, it's not going to fall into your lap. So lots of people think when they put on their Facebook that they got their real estate license and this is what they do, that people are going to come out of the woodwork and call them to buy or sell their houses. They're not really focused on you. I mean, we've had lots of people come to us and say, my cousin went with somebody else as their realtor. Well, there could be reasons for that, but the bottom line of it is don't be a secret agent. Let people know, call them every now and then, catch up, see how you're doing. You want to just be comfortable. I know I said that was the last thing, but one really last thing is know what's going on in your industry. If you are reading Keeping Current Matters, Inman subscription, Housing Wire Daily, there's a ton of, The Real Deal, there's a ton of real estate publications. When you start to meet people, it's really nice to have stuff to talk about. They'll think that you're so smart because you are, and you know your industry. So you really want to not just have nothing to talk about. You don't necessarily have to say, well, I read, You can, you can just talk about the topic itself. So there's plenty of things that you can do to be the best professional realtor that you can. And anybody have questions? I mean, I just rattled on a whole bunch of stuff. That's probably the same thing you've been telling them, right, Marco?
You say it differently. I learned something. So yeah, you're hitting all the right buttons, but I knew you would. So.
Oh, I'm glad.
Yeah.
I'm glad.
I have
Absolutely.
a quick question. I just want to thank you so much for all the value that you gave. As a part-time agent, like us that have 9 to 5, but building real estate on the side, how can we, you said to like plan out today, how can we prospect in a way, especially starting out in a way that is profitable? Because clearly time is, important.
So one of the greatest advantages that you may have is that your day job connects you with lots of people. And oftentimes when those people know what you do, that's a real benefit. That's another pool of people that you could get, listings or buyers from. The second thing is your weekends, you're going to time block a certain portion of time. Let's just say Sunday's family day. Saturday is going to be your day, or evenings, maybe a half an hour before you go to bed, you're going to go through whatever it is that you're going to go through. So if it's community things, you're going to stay involved in the community. I mean, I think that's one of the easiest ones, depending on what your family obligations are, but to be involved in the community or in your church and just gently let people know that that's what you do. It's really an amazing thing. Cold calling isn't it, but calling and texting friends and family, letting them know, keeping it top of mind, that's your sphere of influence. And that's the first thing you should work. So if you spend less time at it, that's okay. Just really make it purposeful, make it intentional. And when you speak to those people, come from a place of service. Like, I'd really love to help you. Not, I really need some business. It should be from a place of service.
Thank you.
Hey, Christina.
Yes.
I love your presentation, but really what I want the agents to know, and one of the reasons why I brought you here, is not only all the knowledge you bring, but I just want them to know the value that RCG brings.
Mhm.
Because I think it's important that they know, really what this is all about.
Sure.
To get a handle on it.
So RCG has been in business since 2017. We are a different kind of mortgage company in that we are mortgage brokers. So oftentimes, if you went to a bank, a Chase, a Wells Fargo, Capital One, they have 3 or 4 mortgage products, and the term and all of the things that they offer are just like, if you went to the Skechers store, you're not going to get Reeboks or Nikes there. They only have Skechers. We are brokers. So number one, we are obligated by law to not inflate our prices, right? We have strict guidelines that we have to go by. We have so many options, and there are many people that for whatever reason may not qualify for a regular mortgage that your big banks offer, meaning businesses for whatever reason, they are not reporting all of their income on their tax returns. I'm not here to preach, I'm just here to say. So they're not reporting all of it. They have extra cash flow. They use their business funds for, whatever it takes to run their life. People that have cash businesses, right? That's a big deal. There are many, many, many people that this is a concern for them. And we can address that by non-tax return loans, DSCR loans, which are low document loans. There's a variety of things, but instead of having 3 products and 3 lenders, we have about 50. So if we can't get your buyers approved, nobody can. RCG has a very advanced system where when we work with your buyer, we are throughout the process at moments of gratitude, asking them for referrals. And when we get those referrals from your buyer, they go right back to you. So even if you're not asking and you're not getting the referral, or you feel that you didn't have the opportunity, we're doing it on your behalf. It is our real big goal to make our Realtor partners way more productive. It just makes sense for us. And, you know, like I said before, when you come from a place of service, it's just a wonderful thing and people love it. So we've been able to grow as a company. Interesting little news tidbit. We were yesterday named to the Inc. 5000 fastest growing companies in America, and we only are in New York. So it's very, very cool. Thank you. Thank you. Our owner has the highest level of integrity. I chose to work with him. I chose to give meals and my time to work with Andrew Russell because not only is he an empire builder, but he cares about each and every person that he works with in terms of his team and that he works with in terms of his Realtor partners. So we do a lot of education. We do a lot of, you know, here I am, I'm the Realtor Success Specialist helping people with business plans, open houses. How do I structure my day? What is it that I do? Because we want you to succeed. So all in all, RCG, we were also named but #1 mortgage broker loan originator in New York State. #1 on Long Island, #2 in New York State, which makes my boss so mad that he's #2. So I'm sure next year we're going to be up higher in the list. But it's our goal to help our Realtor partners. And my job is to help our Realtor partners succeed. And our team's job is to help the clients get into those homes that they want. So we take a lot of pride in it. We do a lot of extra warm, fuzzy love. And we're happy to help you guys. So I wish you the greatest success.
Thank you very much, Christine. I do appreciate it. And just to let you guys know, we had one of our agents that couldn't get somebody qualified. We brought them to RCG. They were qualified in 1 day. So I'm just letting you know that they do have a lot of product out there. And the reason why I like it is because of the education component. And I knew about you before we even met. So I appreciate your time and bringing all your expertise and your skill.
I am so glad. If I can do anything in the future, you let me know. I'll be there.
Oh, yeah, we'll be talking a lot. You know that.
Okay.
You know that. Thank you so much, Christine. Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Okay, guys, so let me ask you a question. Okay, and you can open this up. Anybody could jump on their microphone and just unmute on this. What is one thing that you took out of here? What's the one thing that you learned that you could put into your business today that you didn't have before that would make your business better? She talked about a lot of stuff.
You know, it's funny because like we talk a lot about cold calling and you know, cold approaches, but we see they're not as effective in terms of like return as referrals.
Oh, well, listen, nothing beats a personal referral, but you have to get a referral in order to have a referral. And not everybody is lucky enough on that. What I could tell you is this. It's always better to start where you're known. So if you could start with the people that you know and the people that know you, which is the reason why we talked to you about the DTD2 and going into your sphere of influence and really being meticulous and knocking that out. Talking to everyone, making sure that they know if they have any real estate needs, if they have any real estate questions, that you're there to come to you, because when they think of real estate, your name has to be synonymous with that. One of the reasons why I like Christine so much is because although she's not KW, a lot of the culture in her company and a lot of what they use as far as technique goes aligns with what KW does. So it makes it simpler for agents to hear it because you're just getting a reinforcement of what you're getting. And sometimes just hearing it from a different source makes it resonate differently. For those of you who are parents and your children aren't old enough, you'll realize later on as your children get older and they tell you all these great things that they learned in school and all these philosophies, and you say, you know, I could have swore I told her that. And it's just, wow, you know, this professor and that professor, but credit doesn't really matter. The fact that they're getting the lesson, that's what matters. And I love the point that they're coming from contribution. And what I could tell you about getting involved, I'm not a real big person on getting involved. That's not my forte. You want me to analyze something? You want me to do that? Yeah, I could do that. But what I did, and I did it for my children when my children were younger, is I started coaching them, right? Because I was always into sports. I was a baseball player. So I coached my son's baseball team. And then naturally, I had to coach my daughter's softball team. So I got them both. And then my son wanted to play soccer. So his soccer coach left in the middle, and I picked up. And so I coached soccer, which I knew nothing about. And I coached baseball and softball. So what I did is I used it as a marketing thing. So every year, my kids would get different jackets, and it would always say on the back, if you want to know about real estate, ask the coach. Also, too, all these parents are trusting their kids to me and my other coach, right? So now, trust me with your kids, your house is a no-brainer, right? So that went along with it. And you'd be surprised. I mean, till this day, I get calls. I'm actually now, because the kids that I coached are 32 years old, I'm actually getting calls from them saying they have families and they're starting to look for houses. And they remember I was in real estate. Am I still in real estate? I think what they really wanted to ask is if I'm still alive, but they kind of just wanted to know if I was still in business. So it's kind of funny the way these things work, but people will remember you if you're rememberable. And it has nothing to do with how much you know in the beginning. People do not care how much you do know until they know how much you care. And that's Gary Keller. That's not me, but that's true. That's true. And the unfortunate thing about real estate is when you learn all these things, you want to go out and you want to shout it from the rooftops, right? Because you know all these things. I could tell you something, if someone sat down with me, and they will soon, and say to me, hey, you know, in 3.5 decades of real estate, what did you learn? You can't fix anybody. You can't. They can only fix themselves. You can help them do that. You can meet them where they are. And that's coaching, by the way. But if you think you're going to change someone, that's never going to happen unless they want to. So if you have someone and they tell you, oh, the house isn't for me, it's not for them. Don't try to sell them the house, because that's not selling. What selling is finding something that the person needs and giving it to them, or showing them variables on how they can get it, or expanding their thinking and show them something that they didn't even think of. But you're never going to convince anybody of doing something that they don't want to do, because 9 times out of 10, they're going to pull out. They'll pull out of the deal. And that's why we ask questions. Okay, that's why it's so important to ask questions. So let me tell you a little bit about what's going on. Did anybody hear what happened on Monday with Compass Real Estate? And I'm not picking on Compass. I just want to know if you heard.
No.
Compass Real Estate lost $120 million in the second quarter. So Vanessa, you can't have too many quarters like that.
No.
Okay, but why do you think they lost money? First of all, everybody doesn't run the same model, but why do you think they lost money? It has nothing to do with the market, by the way.
Losing agents?
They overpaid high-producing agents to come work for them. You see, what you don't realize is that no matter how much money you make to us, you're only worth the cap. After the cap, we make more money from you. But it doesn't work like that in every other organization. In every other organization, if you're on an 80-20 split or a 70-30 split, you're on that forever. So, but a lot of real estate agents don't see big picture. They don't see that, right? So what I always saw as working for a cap, that I was just on a countdown. The sooner I paid my cap, the sooner it was done. It was part of my business expense. So I get a hefty tax deduction from it, and away I go. And it also allowed me to set my goals. I want to do my cap in 6 months. I want to do my cap in 4 months. I want to do my cap in 3 months. And I capped in 1 month this year. Okay. And that's just the way my closings went. I didn't have that planned, but I capped in 1 month this year. The thing about it is that if you look at real estate as a business and you tackle it as a business, what's going to happen is you're going to treat it differently. And you're going to understand that the source of your business is finding new business. So whether you call it lead generation or you call it farming or whatever you want to call it, looking for appointments. It's the same thing. Every day you have to go out and restock the shelves, right? If you don't restock the shelves, you're going to go out of business. Do you remember the feeling right when the pandemic started ending and you walked into stores and the shelves were empty? Do you remember that? Do you remember how hollow of a feeling that was? Right? You're in this big store and they have like hardly any merchandise at all. But yet they pulled through that. And we pulled through that too. The funny thing about the pandemic is the pandemic was terrible for everybody but real estate. Because real estate, we made as much money in 10 months as we did in 12. Most people had really, really good years in 2021 and 2022, and even 2020, which kind of boggles the mind, right? So when you want to look at this market, are interest rates going up? Yes. Do a lot of people say, oh, well, you know, things are changing. I get it. But they were so far to one side of the spectrum that even if they change a little, it's actually a good thing. Odesha, what do you think happens when 80 people show up at your open house? Which, by the way, that was happening.
You mean with the interest rate the way that it is?
No, what do you think happens when 80 people show up at your open house? Do you think you service them correctly, or do you think you service most of them?
No, I think that I'll be spreading myself too thin.
Right, you misservice them. So that's number one. Also, too, how many opportunities do you think just go by the wayside? I was talking to somebody yesterday. This person last year made a little over $75 million GCI. Okay. And we just picked apart his business. And we saw all the areas he was losing money. And the first thing he said to me is, I don't want to talk to you anymore. And the second thing he said to me is, I can't believe how much money I wasted. And why did he do it? He can't delegate. He's not a good delegator. He never was. So he has to learn how to delegate. And he doesn't know how to build a team. He thinks a team is a showing agent. That's not a team. The first person on your team is an admin. The reason why is if you're doing business at a high level, you don't want to do the $20 an hour jobs. You want to outsource that. Okay, so you want to be a listing agent, right? Everybody tells me, I want listings. I want listings. Okay, great. So let me ask you a question. How old do you think the average person is who's selling their house right now?
I would say probably late 40s, mid 50s.
Late 40s, early 50s. That's right. Okay. So if they're in their late 40s, early 50s in social media, where are they?
They're probably not that privy to social media.
You'd be surprised, man.
They're probably on Facebook.
Everybody's on Facebook. That's right. Facebook, where the old people go. Okay. So, but if you don't have a presence on Facebook, you ain't talking to sellers. If you are on Instagram, you're talking to buyers. You said you want to be a listing agent. You're not talking to sellers. You're not talking to sellers' language. That's number one. So we know that most of the sellers are on Facebook. Most of the buyers are on Instagram. And now you have someone else who's really a disruptor, and that's TikTok. TikTok is just turning it around on everybody. You look at their metrics and they're off the charts on everything. And the funny part about it is that older agents, by the way, how old do you think the average real estate agent is?
I would
45?
guess 35.
55.
I would say mid 40s.
55.
Wow.
The average real estate agent is 55 years old. It's a single woman. She has less than $30,000 in the bank. She owns her own home, and she's probably single because she's divorced. That's the average real estate agent. I'm sorry, it's not a pretty picture. But real estate agents aren't very bright because they think they're going into business of learning how to sell houses instead of going into the business of being in business. That was the whole thing. If I go back on my training when I first was coming up as an agent, I learned how to sell houses with the best of them. I learned how to list houses with the best of them. But my training for that was second to none. No one taught me how to run a business. I had no idea what a P&L statement was. None. So when I got into a bigger pond and people started talking to me like, you know, how many bank accounts do you have? How do you surface all your money? What do you do here? What do you do there? I'm like, duh, I don't know. Do you have one credit card just for you? No. So you learn as you go, but here, right, in KW, that's the first thing we teach you. We ask you, if you look at the boot camp, it tells you, get 3 bank accounts, right? Because you have to have one for business, you have to have one for savings, and please have one for taxes. Okay, you don't want to have a conversation with the IRS. It's just not a good conversation to have. But again, we look at all that, right? We look at all that and we say, okay, fine. So we have this, but what's the one constant thread through all of it? You got to look for new business every day. You have to have the real estate conversation with someone every day, no matter what it is. And you can find some really, really interesting and good ways of doing it that you get instant gratification. Today, I had my photographer taking pictures of a listing that I'm getting not too far from my home. And there's a handyman in the area that was helping her. So he came into the house and he was talking to me. I never, ever gave this guy the talk. So I said to him, you know, do you know a lot of people who are selling their houses? He goes, oh yeah, this one, the Russos, the Gilroys are thinking about selling this guy. And I'm saying, this guy just told me about like 6 people who are selling their home. Why haven't I talked to this guy before? Because I'm not paying attention. That's why, because we think we're on point until we find out we're not. And the way we usually find out we're not kind of hurts, because we see a sign come up on a house and then we scratch our head. I know people who've seen signs come up on their mother's house and it wasn't theirs. You know, so if you're not telling everybody you know, including the people in your family, your significant other families, and every other family you could possibly think of that you're in real estate and you can help them no matter where they're looking, you're going to see a sign that you don't like. So Chris, if I asked you what your territory was in real estate, what would you say? Mr. Kearse. Now, what's going on? If I asked you what your territory in real estate is, what would you say? I'm sorry?
Everywhere. I can refer anywhere.
Yeah. Basically, what I tell people is planet Earth. If it's on planet Earth, we're good. I can help you. And it's getting to the point where that is really the case. We're in 53 countries now. We're turning over 2 other countries this month. Our international is off the charts. And you want to hear a fun thing about international? Eventually, as you stay in KW Liberty, you're going to meet a guy by the name of Corey Craig, okay? And Corey Craig is not only a capper, he's not only a part-timer, he doesn't only work for the same company that Chris works for. Corey Craig sometimes gets bored and decides to go to foreign countries and recruit things and have people who never opened up KWs open up KWs. And then he gets the entire country. Okay, that's the way it works. The first KW in a country is the base KW. If you have that person, then every other person that comes after that, you have too, and you're downline. So I want to speak to you a moment about something that we haven't spoken to you about too much, but I want to talk to you about recruiting. And the reason why I want to talk to you about recruiting is because when things get a little hard, when the industry gets a little tough, people start looking for other ways to make income, right? The proverbial side hustle. Everybody wants a side hustle. You know what the best side hustle in the world is if you master it? Real estate. Nothing's more rewarding than real estate, especially if you work it correctly. If you don't work it correctly, you're going to tear all your hair out and run down the road like you're on fire, because it's really, really going to mess you up. Real estate is unrelenting if you don't know what you're doing. And sooner or later, you will fall into that trap. But it's a numbers game. If you have one listing and the listing goes down, you're poor. If you have 5 listings and a listing goes down, that's okay. You got 4 more listings. It's a numbers game. One is not enough. Just because you made $20,000 on a Sunday in commission, Monday you have nothing. You start at 0. That's what businesses do. You never heard a business have a banner month and say, hey, you know what? We're closing. Shut the doors. Stop the presses. We're going to close for a while. No, it's we're on a roll. Let's go. Let's go. Let's see where this ends. So we got to get from surviving to thriving. Okay. And the way you do that is talk to people. Who do you know that wants to buy, sell, rent, or invest, or become a real estate agent? Who do you know that wants to buy a home, sell a home, rent a home, or invest a home, or possibly change their life and become a real estate agent? Or do you have to just be a real estate agent to work in KW? Because I spoke to people who are making 7 figures who haven't sold a house, and I can't tell you how long. There's other avenues in Keller that you could work. If I stopped selling houses tomorrow, I could be totally functional and make a very good living in other roles. So there's a lot of places that you can go. You just have to see the breadth of the company that you work for, because it's not Keller Williams Liberty. It's when you go on events, when you start. We're having, for example, there's a mega camp in 2 weeks, right? I know a lot of you guys are part-timers, so it's tough. But what they've done with Mega Camp now, and what they've done with all the events, is they record all the classes, and you have like 3 or 4 months time to go and get any of the classes you want. You know who teaches at Mega Camp? The best of the best of the best. You can't teach one of those events unless you're a 7-figure income person. And those are people that are giving their knowledge to you. And why are they doing that? Because that's the next step, right? When you get to mastery, that's when you only want to make other people. You just want to show other people where they can go and the possibilities that they have. And that's the fun part. And really with real estate, you're doing that too. Aren't you giving people the opportunity of moving somewhere that maybe they've dreamed of? Or going someplace and relinquishing all the debt they have and using their asset to do that, and maybe giving them another start? Where people live has a great impression on how they're going to feel for a long, long time. It controls everything. Chris, what's your mindset since you're a homeowner, aside from the fact that you pay a mortgage now? Chris,
Pay off the mortgage.
I got to talk about the mortgage.
To pay off the mortgage.
Okay, all right, that's your goal. Do you have a plan?
Yeah.
What are you doing, 13? Or
Yeah,
bi-weekly?
No, we're gonna do it 8.
Okay, no, what I'm saying is, you're doing 13 payments a year, or you're doing bi-weekly?
Well, we're doing chunky. That's a bit more aggressive.
Okay, so you're looking to do it in 8 years, right?
Yep.
Okay, all right.
15,000 a chunk, like 3 or 4 times a year on top of the mortgage.
Okay, yeah, hey, listen, man. It makes sense, right? If you could kill your housing expense, it's all gravy after that.
Yep.
But for those of you who don't know, I know a lot of you do because people talk about this before. If you have a 30-year loan and you make 13 payments a year instead of 12 payments a year, and you take one payment and you dedicate that payment towards the principal, because of the way the loan amortizes, you will now pay that 30-year loan off in around 22 years. So you'll knock 8 years right off the loan. Here's the thing. Most people don't live in their house for 30 years. Okay? So sometimes playing with other people's money, depending upon your age and where your income is, and are you earning the most amount that you're going to earn? Because we have periods where we're at our peak earning, and then we have periods where we're not. So if you're at your peak earning ability, I would say don't pay your loan off too much, because having the debt is not a bad thing, because you can use your debt to shelter you from some of your taxes. Also, too, if you're building up equity quickly, that's not a bad thing either. So if you've owned your house, let's say you bought your house 2 years ago and you paid $600,000 for your house is probably worth right now $720,000. That's a lot of gain in 2 years, but that's a fact. Most people gained between 20 and 25% equity in a very, very short amount of time. That's a conversation you can have with somebody, right? The utilization of their equity.
Marco, does this count for like co-ops and condos as well?
Of course.
Okay.
They're lower price, so their valuation is not as large because it's not going up on such a large base, but it's still 20 or 25%. It's funny with condo co-ops and apartments, because if you think back in the beginning of the pandemic, everybody was running for the hills, right? Everybody wanted to move away because you wanted maximum space, okay? So we had a unbelievable overflow of apartments, especially in Manhattan. I think there were 15,000 vacancies in Manhattan at one point and 12,000 vacancies in Brooklyn. And the reason why I do those two is because those are really the two rental hubs in the 5 boroughs. Once the pandemic broke a little, it took maybe 4 months to get back to zero. And then after that, it was just business as usual. Everybody said, oh, New York has gone downhill. It's not what it used to be. Look at what's happened to it. Why don't you go take a drive and take a good look at what's going on? Are there homeless people on the street? Yeah, go to any major city in the United States. There's homeless people there. When I was in Austin, it was they would just line the streets because you go to any hot weather climate and they could be out all year round. So yeah, is there a problem with that? Absolutely. But you could be on the forefront of that stuff too. There's a lot of gaps in real estate right now that any smart person is going to really go right into those things. So don't worry about being the disruptor. Don't worry about being the yellow marble in the sea of blue marbles. You want to do something different, go do it. Just make sure you stay in line with what you're supposed to do so you don't get us arrested or in trouble or yourself in trouble. Don't risk your license. But dude, think out of the box. That's the best way of getting yourself noticed. Right? One of the top real estate agents in I think he's in Pensacola, but I'm not 100% sure, right? But he's the top real estate agent there. And his name is Richard, right? And his whole thing, his whole advertising campaign is if you don't sell with Richard, you don't know Dick, okay? Everybody knows him, okay? Is it a little off color? Yeah, but everybody knows him and he's played that to the hilt. So you don't know where you can go with it. You don't know how you can market it, right? But if you're going to spend your money on marketing, don't make it vanilla. If you're going to vanilla market just like every other real estate agent, don't bother. Find another way of connecting. Events work very, very well. And if you want to learn about events, we got like an event guru in Lydia. Lydia can think of more ways to do more things with more people than I've ever imagined in my life. She's really, really good at that stuff, and she might be somebody that you want to talk to about that. You can run a first-time buyers seminar in a library at a VA and get buyers that way. Okay, that's an easy thing for you to do. There's a lot of different things that are available to you that you're just not thinking of. You could do a homeowner seminar, right? Things are getting a little tough, you know? 3 ways that you can be assured your house will sell in a shift. Tonight, whatever. Don't do it on Zoom, do it live. Talk to John, get the room downstairs. He won't care. Get a couple of agents to help. And do it. Use everything you have to build your business. I use coaching, right? With my kids. That's the way I started. My brother-in-law, he had a little red desk calendar that we used to give out. We used to hand deliver all the time, right? And I hated this thing. but he built his entire business from it. Because when I got into real estate, I worked with my brother-in-law. He's actually the one who got me in real estate, right? So the whole idea was, we started out, maybe we were doing 1,500, 2,000 calendars a season. When I left him, we were doing 13,000 calendars a season. And everybody called in October asking us if we were going to give the calendar. So what I started doing is, if I'm going to deliver these calendars, I'm putting my card in them. I wasn't going out and killing myself in the winter if I wasn't going to get something out of it. So I started doing that, which he didn't care. But the point I'm trying to make is, he just ran with that because it was something, and that's how he built his business. Through door knocking and giving out something that people valued. Why don't you study the top producer in your area? Do you know who the top producer in your area is? Do you know who the top real estate agent in your area is? And why they're the top real estate agent? It's not by accident. I'll tell you that right now. If they're number one, it's because they strive to be. You remember what Christina said. Why is her boss mad? Because they were number one in one thing and number two in another. He can't stand being number two. That's just his competitive way. There's an expression, if you want to be good at something, find people who are good and watch what they do. That's with anything, right? So who's the top producers in the area? Wherever you live. If you don't know, find out. If you need to know a way of finding out, talk to me and I'll show you how you do it. It's not a hard thing to do. But those are little things. What else? What are some of the other things do you think you could do that would make you extra money, or that would build up your leads a little bit more without spending a lot of money? What do you think, Zebby? What do you think is something that you could do that might make leads coming to you?
Just being interested as to what people have to say to me, listen to people, and be in conversation with them, empathize with them.
Okay. How do you find the people to do that with, though?
I have a 16-month-old daughter. She goes to a playground every day. I try to go with her and talk to the other parents. And
That's called labor. That's called leveraging, right? Good for you. Okay. So you're leveraging something you know to a place you go, and you're going to use it that way, right?
Yeah.
How many people have a dog? Raise your hand.
almost everybody.
Okay. All right. So if anybody here who has a dog knows that other people who have a dog love to talk to you. Dog people love to talk to dog people. There's dog parks, right? They don't say people in dog parks. No, it's a dog park. It's a place to go if you have a dog. You have no dog, maybe you can go, but really we prefer you to go if you have a dog. If you have a dog, you get into dog world. You don't have to approach anybody. They see your dog. Ooh, what's your dog's name? My dog's name's this. Oh, I had a dog like that one time. How old is he, right? That's the conversation. Most people who own a dog usually lavish them. I can't tell you how much people spend on pets, but I do know that they spend quite a lot. So what can we do about that? What if you went to a place like Petco and you talk to a couple of groomers there, right? No cutting, no crazy stuff. Just they'll brush out the pet or whatever it is. And what if you offered that, right? You got 3 of them. Maybe it costs you a little bit of money. And then you offered the pet owners to come. Free grooming or free cleaning, whatever the case may be. It doesn't matter what you're doing. It just matters that you're doing it. Or you could sit down and say, oh, well, I'm going to pay Zillow for leads. Or I'm going to pay this guy because he's going to give me leads. Any lead that you buy, 6 other people bought that lead. And the funny thing about it is the reason why these companies have leads in the first place is because we gave them to them. I was a consultant for Zillow for 4 years. Zillow had no intention of becoming a real estate, none. They were more than happy to be the 800-pound gorilla disruptor in the room, just drive things like people like in the NAR crazy because they were so far above their tools, what they were giving, and have real estate agents pay for territories to get leads. They were more than happy to do that. And then somebody came along one day and said, you know what, let's start tracking this stuff. Let's see what they're doing with the leads, because I have a feeling they're not doing what they're supposed to do. Because this is the amount of leads we have coming in, and this is the amount of conversion we see, and it just doesn't make any sense. So then they put a CRM in, right? Easy enough. And they don't have a CRM. They have a CRM like on steroids, right? But the CRM tracks everything, and they ask the agent that when they make contact with the person to show it on their CRM. So in other words, I talk to this person, this is what's happening. They want to know the disposition of it, and they want to know when the appointment's coming. They found out that real estate agents are horrible when it comes to follow-up. We're worse when it comes to making appointments. And worst of all, it's our money. We're paying for it, and we're just willingly leaving it on the table. So the powers that be sat back and said, hey, you know what? We can do this better than the real estate agents, because I don't think the real estate agents really know what they're doing. I don't think they know how much money they're throwing away. We won't do that, so let's do that. Their problem was they believed in an algorithm, and their algorithm was their Zestimate, and their Zestimate almost put them out of business. Because if you think $100 million in a quarter is a lot to lose, try losing $800 million in the third quarter, because that's what happened to Zillow 2 years ago on their Zestimate. They decided that they were going to buy people's houses based on their Zestimate. So if they didn't sell it, they'd buy it, and they'd buy it based on their Zestimate, and their algorithm was wrong. They were paying too much money for the homes, and they couldn't cash, and then they liquidated them. Because when the new head of Zillow came in, he said, you know what? Get rid of it. Just dump it. It's toxic. And they did. And they took a massive loss on it, right? And they'll never recover from that. The point of being is they noticed what we had, what we were doing, and the conclusion they came to is we don't know what we're doing. Isn't that sad? That other people look at our industry. Why do you think they're trying so hard to make us irrelevant? When people come on and they talk about how much they charge as commission, and they make that their point of difference, the difference between me and you is I charge less. Nobody in their right mind believes that. Not that they don't believe they charge less, that charging less is the point of difference. They just believe that nobody differentiates in service, so why should I pay more from him when I can get it less for him? Everybody does the same thing, right? Right? Do they? Does every real estate agent do the same thing?
No.
No. So then it's an ignorance on the layman's part, right? On the public's part, that allows us to be pictured in a way that they think, yeah, no big deal. My best friend, when I sold his house, and he heard all my complaints, my cursing, my ruminations, everything that went on in real estate, because we know each other for over 40 years. So when I sold his house, he said to me, you know, I never realized how hard your job was. And I'm like, really? He goes, yeah. He goes, I always took it for granted. I just thought people came to the house and you sold them the house and you made money. That's all I thought it was. And it's anything but that. As a matter of fact, what do you think is harder to do? Sell the house or get the house to closing? Which one do you think is harder?
Get the house closing.
Get the house to closing. You think, Chris, you think that's the hardest part?
Yeah.
That's what they're paying you for, man. They're not paying you to get a buyer. Anybody can get a buyer. You get it closed. Now you're talking. That's when the big stuff starts coming out. And that's why it's so important to not work with a lender that's going to get approved every time, because that would be unreasonable to think that every loan that goes through is just going to be okay. That's an unreasonable thought, right? Because it's a law of averages. But just to work with somebody that tells you the truth. That in and of itself is worth more money. Somebody who lets you know, no, we can't do this, or no, the way we thought we could do it, we can't do it that way, but we could do it this way, but I don't know. I'll have to talk to the buyer and see if they'll go for that, because there's a change. Sometimes people don't do that, and that'll hurt your relationship with your buyer or your seller or both. So it's not easy to get into one of my classes. Okay, I don't have a lot of people on unless I really trust them. But I wanted Christine on the class because I know Christine is special, and I know the way she does things is really right within our wheelhouse on the way we want our agents to be talked to. So let me ask you again, what's the one thing you learned today that you could take out of and you can use in your business right away that's going to make your business more successful? What's the one thing you learned?
Get out there, be myself, and not be a silent agent. Real estate is a people's business, in a network business. Be a connector.
I'm telling you right now, I have a t-shirt that says real estate is a contact sport, and it is. Okay. Real estate is a contact sport. You could talk to me about technology, and I love technology. Okay. But technology alone is not going to do what you need to do in real estate. And when it does, you won't be here anymore. The moment technology can outthink you, the moment AI takes over doing what you do, or the moment people don't care as much for the human experience as they do just let's get it done, because all those things can happen. You have to think of what am I going to put forth? What are people going to see when they see me? They see somebody who gets something done? Do they see somebody who gives really good customer service? Or do they see somebody who says a lot but does a little? The collective mindset of Keller Williams is that we are going to destroy a lot of real estates along the way. We know that now. And that's the mode we're in. We're in maximum kill mode. And the reason why is because we took it for a long, long time. And now we're going to use our position to take it back. And the way we're going to take it back is a lot of people are struggling. So we'll absorb them. We'll bring them in. So don't stop looking at real estate agents that you think you're talented. If you walk by an office and the office is closed and they should be open, inquire within. You may convert an entire office. They're getting very tired of turning on the lights. Things cost more money, okay? The average broker makes X amount of dollars on every agent, okay? We know what we're gonna make on an agent if you cap, but we don't know if you don't cap how much we're gonna make. That's the challenge. But that allows us to scale our business, okay? The average real estate broker, the guy who's working the mom and pop, they have no idea how much money is coming in month to month. They don't know. And they don't know how it's going to be allocated. Those offices, for the most part, I'm not saying everybody, but a lot of them are in trouble and they're showing signs of trouble. Those offices are ripe for someone to come in and say, hey, how'd you like to not turn on the lights anymore or worry about where you are? Or have somebody subsidize your rent in turn of coming in and showing you how you can run your business more effectively. Right? How many people on this call know Ariel? Okay. Ariel, from his own mouth, is maybe an average real estate agent. Okay, maybe. But he really hasn't spent his time being a real estate agent. What he spent his time doing is recruiting. And Ariel is one hell of a recruiter. Okay, he's working on an office right now of over 400 agents. You do a couple of those, that's like winning the lottery. So you really kind of understand everything that's out there for you. So if you're in a position where, oh, I can't do a lot of real estate right now, my job won't allow me to do, because everybody I think I'm talking to here is a part-timer. But you know what you can do? You can recruit, you could talk to other people. And you should know that we send people to school for free through K-Score, through Kaplan. Anybody that you have that's thinking about becoming a real estate agent that wants to go to school, you send them to us, we'll send them to school for free. Yep. What's up, Adeja? I see your hand up.
No, I was just applauding that, what you said about anybody want to be an agent. You guys send them to school.
Yeah, no, we send them to school. If you guys are doing your, if you have to do your every 2 years, right? We have to do re-education. If you have to do that, you get it cheaper through Kaplan. So we're always looking for things to make your life a little bit easier. You can make our lives a little bit easier by telling other people about us. That's how Keller grew. We didn't grow through commercials. We didn't grow through the internet. We didn't grow through anything. We grew organically, and we're still growing organically, but you could really speed along the process a little bit better. And like I said, keep your eyes out. It's like keeping your eyes out for a house that they didn't do the lawn in a long time, or it kind of looks like it's not in the best shape. Go knock on the neighbor's door and see who owns it. They'll tell you. They might even give you their phone number because they don't want that eyesore next to them. Chris, I'll pick on you one more time. Wouldn't you, as a homeowner, if the house next door to you was falling into disrepair, wouldn't you want to see that sold and go to someone who would take care of it more, so it would increase or at least keep up your property value? Chris might be working. But anyway, any questions, guys? Any questions on anything you saw or you learned today? Did you enjoy our guest? Yes? Everybody enjoy it?
Yes. Can we have her contact information?
Oh, absolutely. I thought she left it on, but if she didn't, what I'll do is I'll send it to you in an email. Christine is very easy to go, and she's going to be teaching some classes in our MC. She's going to be coming down and teaching us live. The whole thing is, a lot of classes is kind of weird because some people go, some people don't. And we don't know if they're not going because they're still a little, leery about contact. But we notice if we give a barbecue or we have a DJ, you're there. So we learn. You'll come if there's something of value. It makes you a consumer. And that's exactly the way consumers think about you. I'll do something with you if you have something of value for me. But yes, I'll give you her number. Anybody else? Any questions? Anything?
I have a question. She was mentioning, Christina was mentioning a lot of different outlets for real estate publications. Are there any publications that you can recommend that we can keep on track of, like, market shifting, interest rates, et cetera, et cetera?
Inman, Real Deal, NAR.
Can you
Inman,
do that one more time?
yeah, Inman you have to pay for. Okay, Inman is not free. KCM, Keeping Current Matters, you have to pay for. But all the information on KCM is automatically downloaded to our Facebook page, and you can take that and do whatever you want for it. I post content for you guys every single day. Okay, so it's all there. You can go there, you can take it, you can run with it and do whatever you got to do with it. I don't care. Real Deal is a little bit more New York City intrinsic, but it's there for you. Bloomberg, Reuters, any of the local stuff, just to get a flavoring, but that's a pretty big gamut. National Association of Realtors, just to let you know, the National Association of Realtors aren't a great business. They're a good business model, right? So if you want to figure how much money will the National Association of Realtors take in by October? So the average, what's the average dues now? What is it, $799 or $699 total? Is it about $700? Okay, so 700 times 3.7 million. because that's how many licenses are being held. Not bad. Not a bad third quarter, right? So if you're trying to sell that business and you got that kind of revenue coming in the third quarter of every year, that's not too bad. Then you count on everything else they do. But NAR is a great research team. NAR has some really, really good research stuff. And a lot of it they'll give away for free. They won't charge you for it. You just got to go on. Right? Just go on and go to the NAR, put in all your information, and then go on and see what they have. The one thing that you'd really find interesting, if any of you are analytic or just want to read a little, is the yearly, what is it? It's the yearly profile of buyers and sellers. Okay, so it takes it in every age group, right? So every age demographic, you have it everywhere from millennials to baby boomers to the silent generation to Generation X, you know, the whole gamut. It's great there. And it also shows you and gives you prediction, right? Where they think people will be, where everybody's migrating from. NAR came out with something right in the beginning of 2022 that was a real jaw dropper. And they estimate that over 40% of the United States will change its address within the next 8 years. Just because of attrition, right? People getting older, people moving on, people moving to other things, so on and so forth. What nobody's taking into account here is that you don't have to work in the same state that you live in anymore. So that in and of itself is going to be something different for real estate agents, right? Because we're concerned about where people are going to live, where are people going to look to, you know, cohabitate, if you will. And that's something that we might want to look at. The other thing that they said that was really a telltale is that 65% of all the realtors in the National Association of Realtors have 2 years or less experience. That is interesting. So if I'm an older agent and I know what a buyer's market looked like, or I know what a shifting market looks like, I have a distinct advantage. And the advantage I have is I know what to expect, I know how to handle it, and I know where it's going to go. Do I know exactly where it's going to go? No, but I have a good idea where it's going to go. And you guys are going to have to learn that.
You and I are going to have that conversation in the audience.
I can have that conversation with all of you. I mean, that's just my take on it, right? So I think the real estate industry is going to change a lot in the next 5 years. I think you're going to see 20 years worth of change in 5 years. And I think the reason why you're going to see that is because there's going to be a lot of disruption going on, more so than we had in the previous 5. I think that the market itself, it always works the same way. Sellers always get it last. Buyers always think they have it first. So you're always going to have that juxtaposition where the sellers are going to want as much as they want and buyers are going to want to pay as least as they want to pay. It's just on a different level. The funny thing is what's not cooperating with anything and what's throwing everything off, and it's making all the prognostication and all the people who are predicting what's going to happen, is that there's such an imbalance between the houses that are available and the number of people who are looking for houses. Even though it's going up precipitously, it can't go up enough to straighten that balance out. So it's really imbalanced. So when you have an economic formula of, you have a short supply and still a high demand, right? Unless the demand goes down a lot, and I mean a lot, I don't think you're going to see a real shift in the market itself. I think you'll see a perceived shift from the buyers and from the sellers, but in reality, I don't think you're going to see any kind of quantum leap, if you will. I don't think you're going to see that. And I did a class, I guess it was about a month ago, that really gave all the statistics and showed you everything on what inflation looks like, what recession looks like, and why, and all the key factors of it. And we are only like 3 factors into what a real recession is. However, perception-wise, a lot of people think we're already there. And if you listen to like the news stories that came out here, I'll give you an example. Because I was going to do this in the class today, so I might as well show this to you now. Just give me 1 second here. Let me see if I can find this real quick. Oh, that's interesting. I never had that happen before. It's saying I'm sharing my screen, but I'm not. Let's see if I am. Okay, there we go. All right. So can everybody see my screen? Builders concerned about the sudden pullback in new home market?
Yeah.
Okay. So now why is this pertinent? We're not dealing with a lot of new homes. Why do we need to know this? Because there's such a lack of homes in the new home market that for the builders never thought they'd see anybody pull back because there's so few. And what happens with that now is they're saying, what's causing this? And they're going, oh, interest rates are too high, buyers don't want to buy anymore. So builders are saying more buyers are backing out of sales contracts for new homes as traffic fizzles, causing home builder confidence to drop for the 8th straight month. The Commerce Department reported Tuesday that single-family homes construction last month declined 10%. It's already been declining over the last 10 years, matching the lowest level since the onset of COVID-19, the pandemic in 2020, according to the data. There has been a dramatic pullback in home buyer demand this year, for which builders blame rising mortgage rates and material prices. I don't think it's the mortgage rates as much as it's the material prices. The average cost to build a home has jumped 35.7%. Now, if you tack on inflation of 9% onto that, you're looking at an increase of almost 43%. Nobody can withstand that. But is it inflation or is it how much things cost, right? And if the supply chain gets its act together, which it has, how much will that really affect? So even though this article was written on the 16th, the data that they're looking at is actually from the beginning of June to the middle of July. This is not really an accurate thing that's going on right now, but what they're saying is this is what they're seeing, and they think moving forward, it's not necessarily going to get better. But the Association of Home Builders never think it's going to get better because they bamboozled this country into thinking they were going to build 7 million more houses than what they built, and they never built them. And the reason why is they don't want the risk, because of what happened in 2008. And if you want to read something really, really interesting, read about the real estate market in Las Vegas, Nevada in 2008, how they knocked down hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of brand new houses because having the individual lots was so cost proprietary that they actually re-divided the lots and put them in bigger parcels because it was actually cheaper. This is after the homes were built. This is how bad the builders were getting hit. So there's a lot of backstory to this. I can understand why the builders see it this way. I don't think you're going to see it this way. I don't think that's what you're going to see. I think you're going to see a little derivation, but I don't think you're going to see a lot of it. And also speaking to people like Gary Keller and Richard Motto, Bob Heller, and a number of other people that are very big in this industry in the last month and a half, I'm not going to say everybody sees it the same way I do, but they see it pretty much the same way. And that's how I formulated a lot of my opinion. So I hope that helps. I hope that helps your question. And everybody, I wish you to have a good night. I'll see you in class on Sunday. And if you have any questions, please feel free to text me or let me know. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Glad you enjoyed the class. Listen, if you really, really like the class, go on Facebook, go on our Facebook page and everywhere else and shout it. Let everybody know. So this way we get more turnout next time. We had a great turnout this time, but I'd like to see more. Take care, guys.